Welcome to the BMI podcast, guys.
Welcome.
Today we are talking about social media.
Using it properly.
Using it properly?
Or at least using it, I don't know, what's the better way? With a little bit more balance
Yeah.
rather than being overcome by temptation and urge.
Yeah, because I wouldn't even know if using it properly would be even a
Yeah.
right way to describe it for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I was just like more like addicted to it, you know?
Fuck yeah.
I think a lot of people out there are probably in that same boat.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, this one kind of came out from a post that I put on our business Instagram earlier in the week, right? And it was like, you know, how do you use social media, or how do you control your social media usage, if at all?
Yeah, filter. How do you filter your social media consumption, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll put the question to you, like, how do you filter your social media usage, if at all?
If at all. I would say it's a bit of a up and down thing for me. Like, there's moments where I realize that I'm probably spending a bit too much time on Instagram. So I believe it or not, I used to be way worse. Like, I used to have TikTok, and man, that would soak some hours up for me. And I used to actually be, I guess, a low-key advocate for it. I used to be like, man, you need to get TikTok, man. It's like, it's so good. Yeah. But then
It's so good for a reason.
Yeah, it's so good. And like that algorithm is well-renowned.
It's like donuts. They're so good too.
Yeah, to me, yeah, honestly. But like, well, that's what it was. It was spending hours and hours on it. And me and you didn't even realize like how much we were actually spending time on it until we were like, holy shit, I just did like a 2-hour straight binge on there. And it's good at keeping, like, they move through like a bit of like a medium sized content, and then they'll hit you with the fast, and then they'll like just doing everything they can to keep you on that app. And to answer the question, I don't filter too much, but more I'm a bit more aware now. Like, if I can see myself, if I've got my list of things that I need to do, and then I'm just picking up my phone, just phantomly, just out of nowhere, just picking it up, like shit, like, and I was like, why did I pick that up? I'll go and put my phone in the kitchen, and then I'll go back into the office and do the stuff that I need to do on the computer. And that's what I've been doing recently. That's helped a little bit, just for like even editing the podcast. I would always be editing the podcast, and I'll pick my phone up halfway, and then I'll just be scrolling, and then I was like, what am I doing? And it's almost like habitual, you know, like I'm not even thinking about it, and then all of a sudden the screen's in front of me, and I'm just swiping. Yeah,
also interesting you put it up that way, because prior to asking the question, I didn't take the question any further. I'm thinking about whether or not to write more about it for like next week's email, or an email in a couple of weeks' time, or something like that. But so when I'm thinking about social media, a lot of what came through in the question or on Instagram was different ways of almost like self-limit. Yeah. And so it was delete the app. It was set a timer on the phone, or like how the phone has like sleep mode or do not.
It has a mode in it that can tell you that you've spent the allocated time, screen time to it. Yeah.
And so you get alerts and things like that, or it kind of locks itself out and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I don't know if it locks it, but like Judith has them on all of them. And I watch it, and literally just...
Yeah, it does.
Every banner's we just swipe the banners away now, you know?
Yeah. Well, my one pops up. So I set my one up for like sleep at the end of the day. Yeah. So like my sleep time normally kicks in from around 10, and then it opens up at 6. Yep. So, which you can override it. And so it basically locks the phone. But then you can kind of like swipe up and be like, it asks you a question. Do you actually want to use this? And you're like, yeah, fuck you. Or, oh, just give me 1 minute, or give me 15 minutes. And so you can do that. If you pick the 1 minute one, it'll lock it straight away, and then you only get the choice of unlock or don't unlock after that. But you can hit the 15-minute one to give you time to obviously do something, or you can disregard this for the day kind of thing as well.
Yep. Well, those are small little barriers, right?
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. It's because I actually think of it very much like a bad habit. And so when it comes to like people eating junk food or skipping workouts and things like that, it's exactly the same itch. Like, it's the same itch, it's the same temptation. And when I'm working with those like habitual processes, it kind of comes in both regards. You almost need the barrier in the initial instance to kind of prevent almost the itch from occurring or that temptation to actually come in. But then at the same time, you also need to, what I call, train the bear. Like, you can't just be at the will of, I don't know, whether it's the donut, whether it's the chocolate for some people, whether it's the phone for other people. Like, you can't just delete the app forever.
Yeah.
Or at some point, which I'm sure everyone's already done, is they'll delete the app and then reinstall the app.
Yeah, like the old classic. I'm taking a hiatus from social media.
Yeah.
If you don't have my personal number, I guess I shouldn't be in contact. Something
and then
like that.
Literally 3 months later or 30 days later, they're back on. Like
2 days later, I see this person likes it. I'm like all you wanted was the gratification from I'm going to get off of the social media, and then I'll see you active 20 minutes ago. I'm like, what?
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's like some people do need that. Don't get me wrong. And just like with, we wouldn't keep, or you wouldn't keep a box of donuts sitting in the house all the time. I wouldn't keep a bag of chips sitting in the house all the time. Like, if they were, I'd fucking eat them. Of course I would. But at the same time, I can't just rely on that forever. Otherwise, I'll always, and I've always had, the same pull towards it. And so if the bag of chips is in the house, I will smash it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't train the bear. Yeah. I was just basically trying to fucking close the door on it. And then as soon as you let that shit in, it runs rampant. Yeah. And so, I think it's actually kind of looking at it both sides. And interesting, you brought up the train the bear side. And a lot of that has to do with actually just noticing the temptation or noticing what you're doing when you're doing it. Yeah. And so a lot of it, yes, you can have that barrier in place. But a lot of the times you also need to kind of train that bear in order to, I guess, have a better relationship with the technology. Because they can be useful, right? Like, they can be useful for us.
Yeah, for sure.
And I always have a dilemma. It's like, if I'm putting content out from a business perspective, how much content do I put out in order to, like, play the algorithm game of capturing people's attention? Yeah. And, especially when you want interaction, because if people are interacting with your post or interacting with your story, then you always show up first on their list. And so then you get seen more. And if you get seen more, well, then your audience grows. But how much of that do you play? Yeah. And it's like, I've always battled with that personally.
Yeah, and I think about it all the time, and I think that's probably why I haven't just looked up every possible way to get likes, shares, followers, everything, like, because I feel like there's a lot of hacking that you can do with the small clips and even just like medium long clips, but then just marketing. There's a whole bunch of stuff, and because a lot of people they'll market to get to their first 1,000 subscribers, just so that they're getting that organic reach, because it is a bit harder when you're starting with such low numbers and. Like, it's really hard for me. Like, a lot of even my friends as well. Like, I tell them I have a podcast, and they go, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Yeah," and because I've probably shared it once or twice. Yeah. And then I think it's because I'm in my own head going like, "Well, I don't want to be that dickhead that's just like my podcast, my podcast, my podcast, my podcast." Right. Right now, I think it's really good, and it's also cool listening while editing. Is like how much better we're getting. Yeah. As well. Yeah. Other than the few clerical errors where we fucking forget to record the podcast, like, my bad.
They don't end up.
We sit here for an hour and a half, and we're like, I look down and I'm like, oh fuck, like
nothing's been recorded.
Yeah, it's like shit. Wow, that was a good catch up. Yeah, but like it's. I see us getting better, and I think that is my, I guess, cope in my head. I go, well. For us, I'll do it later on down the line and dive into maybe trying to grow our channel, and that's yet to explore that part. But that's how do we play in that social media part, and it's something that I think about quite a lot. And what do you do there? Like, do you I guess what do they say if there's something, if you see a problem, don't bring attention to it, join them, or something like that. There's a saying along those. But if you find a scheme, don't disturb it, join it. Yeah, or something like that. Like
which again, like at that point, like how do you bring in if you're a creator, right? How do you bring in your own integrity? Yeah, like how do you bring that in, and how do you play that game? Because you can see you can see the mind numbing that occurs, and I think that's the big issue, right? Like with social media, it's not necessarily the actual platforms. Like the platforms is a business, right? And the business or what they're wanting to get from you isn't money. Like that's why it's free. They're wanting attention because they can sell that. They can sell the information. They can sell, obviously.
They know they can pull you away from what you're watching right now for 8 to 10 seconds and then feed you something, and then they'll chuck you right back there, and they know we're willing to put up with it.
And advertisers pay for that. Like if I'm putting a sponsored post online, I want that to go to the right person. I don't want to put an ad in front of someone who's never thought about dieting before or someone who's not interested in health. Like there's no point. They're not going to buy anything. I'm wasting my money.
Your clicks, yeah,
exactly. And I mean, that was probably the issue with a lot of like television marketing and things like that. Like, sure, you can put it out to a mass audience, but probably only a 1% of that is going to, a pool is actually going to purchase. Whereas with social media, you can be more specific.
Yeah, it's really good.
The only way you can be specific is because of the attention grabbing data that they grab from you, you know, because they know how long you spend looking at a post. They know how much you interact with this type of content versus another type of content.
Yeah.
And so when you say, or you click into an ad, you know, I want to share it with people like my followers or followers that they kind of follow, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Instagram knows that.
Yeah.
And so they only know that because of what you're interacting with.
And it keeps getting fine-tuned and harder, and I think, and then they charge more. And I feel like the social media, the way that it's set up is it understands how inflation works and everything. They put in things in motion, so they know that you're going to soon spend more money to get that bit more of refinery, or I guess more conversion, and then they're gonna keep on, and they just keep dragging it out because they're gonna pull more money out of your pocket, you know, and that's for the advertising side of things, but it's also for us as well with the attention side of things, and that's why that landscape is forever evolving. And I feel like we all got overloaded with just stimulus videos. There was a whole point where there was just heaps of like really, really like highly edited videos, and then I think it just fried everyone's brains, and then they started with now we're rotating back to more story-based telling and vlogging styles. It's quite funny to even look at how they change so quickly, and then it's ever adjusting, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like, we bring it back, like we use it as that mind-numbing tool. You know, we think about it every time that we go on social media. It's literally to disengage from whatever it is that we're doing. And so, one, we might feel anxious out in public, and so we're fucking head first in our phone. We might be sitting at a dinner table and we don't know what to talk about, so we head first in our phone. We come and we're doing work and we don't really want to be doing the work, or the work that we're doing is kind of boring, and so we're in our phone.
Yeah.
You know, like it's literally mind numbing. We're using it as a means to kind of just basically numb ourselves. We used alcohol in the past. We've used drugs in the past. We've used sex and fucking porn in the past. And now we just use social media for the same shit.
Yeah.
Food, exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I mean, like, I find them so interconnected because the underlying concept is that we're mind numbing.
Yeah.
Or it's some kind of numbing. And so you think about food, or what a lot of people use food, or how they use food, it's for that. It's to numb. It's to not to do the thing that they otherwise need to do, or to prevent the boredom that's occurring. And so the social media device or platforms provide a very hard hit of dopamine, which reinforces that. It's like, oh shit, I'm getting no reward from engaging in this thing that I don't want to do. And now I'm getting this huge fucking reward from engaging in something that really isn't doing me any service.
But it also steals from you, When you're getting those rewards, it's like, it means it numbs everything else.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's funny because I've seen this on social media, and you know, like,
and this will end up on social media.
Yeah. But I've seen, like, it was a tip to, you know, like not engage with your phone in the morning, and the way that they were describing it was just like, from the moment you wake up, you can pick up your phone and see that 10,000 people died halfway across the world, and then it was like, what's that doing for you in your day? And then I was just like, shit, like. It's true. At that time, I wasn't even doing that either. But that actually made me think. I was like, well, it can only be negative. Like you know what Timmy and Thing and Sally got up to, or they just bought a new car, and then you woke up feeling like shit straight away, like because you haven't even stepped out of your bed and you already think you're a piece of shit because you don't own a Lamborghini, or you don't, not even the Lamborghini, it'd be just the basic, a new Toyota, you know, and you're automatically just put yourself into that negative mindset and that negative space, and you're going to maybe think about it, and it is no good to have that straight away from when you get up in the morning. So I don't do that. Like, I just go and have a cold shower, only because I am one that likes to get up just before, like, just before I got to head off to work. Yeah, I'm the kind of get ready quick guy, and so I don't really have time, or I do have time. I choose to
not have that time.
Yeah, I like to sleep as much as I can because I struggle to get to sleep in the other back end, the front end. So, so I enjoy it towards the end. Like once I'm asleep, I enjoy it quite a lot.
Dr. K actually has an analogy using a lemon, squeezing a lemon, which is the whole morning usage of dopamine. And it can be anything, but essentially your dopamine system, when you kind of wake up in the morning, it's almost like reset like a full lemon. And so you chop a lemon in half, and obviously it's got its most juice. Now, anytime you engage in anything, irrespective of what it is, you get a release of dopamine. But obviously the things that are more dopaminergic will basically squeeze more juice out of that lemon. And so your dopamine system is like the lemon, and whatever you do kind of like squeezes the juice of dopamine out. And obviously if you engage in a task or a behavior or anything that's dopaminergic, it's like squeezing the fuck out of it. Like you get a lot of juice. Whereas if you do something that's boring, you can get a little bit of a squeeze. Like you only get a little bit of juice coming out. But you don't have to push that hard when that lemon is full or when you've just cut into it to get a lot of juice. And so he says in the morning, because the lemon is already full, you can do any task, even if it's one that you don't necessarily like, and get a lot out of it. And so that's where the whole morning shower thing comes in, right? Like, or doing some kind of movement or exercise first thing in the morning, or something that's productive that's going to make you feel like you're progressing towards whatever goal that you have.
Journaling or meditating.
Yeah, because even though the task itself may not be that intrinsically rewarding, it's going to be more rewarding because you've got more dopamine to give that. And so you're going to get a better reward response from engaging in the behavior. Whereas if you went and you engaged with your phone or social media or whatever first, basically that you don't, just engaging in that type of content because of how like interesting and hyper fixating that it is, it's already going to give a large squeeze. And so then you're giving this large squeeze to an already full lemon, and then you've got nothing left for the rest of the day. Yeah. And so any task
is that how it works as well? Like I definitely agree with that. Like it's you're trying to wring out, you know, like a dry rag.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like it's like there's nothing there,
Nothing
and
there.
then that's when you become, I guess, numb to the feelings, and it becomes just like repetitive, and then because you're so depleted, you think, oh, I need more.
Well, and we do, because the only thing at that point, like when you've rinsed the fucking lemon out, the only thing you can do to get that last little bit of juice, you know, when that rag is dry, the only thing you can do to get that last bit of water out is to wring it harder. And the only thing that'll allow it to wring harder is to go for even more dopaminergic activities. So if you want to be motivated, the only thing that's going to motivate you is the shit that's actually very, very enticing and motivating. That is the hyperpalatable food, the donut, the chips, the alcohol, the drugs, the 100% alcohol.
I definitely see like that's very apparent in the weed smoking community.
Yeah.
You know, like a few of people that I've seen that are I'm not addicted. I was just like, but I've never seen you not go without a cone in the afternoon.
So what's funny is then the people that do that first thing in the morning, like imagine the aftermath of then doing that first thing in the morning, or if when you initially wake up.
Wake and bake, yeah. Well, that's what they do. And then like I used to have people that I work with, and they turn up, and I'm just like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, well they're happy. Like they think they're happy, but like you could only imagine.
You're searching for highs after that.
Yeah, pretty much. You can tell that they're itching by the end of the day, because and work sucks.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing is going to live up to that. Like you've built this expectation of the day's going to be fucking wonderful based on the first fucking moment that you've woken up, and it's like, like the reality is it's not going to do that. And then when it comes to engaging in the things that you need to engage in, well, then you just kind of get or you need that big hit. You need the phone surge to keep you motivated. And so we're kind of getting this, like, we want to numb ourselves to it, but by numbing ourselves, and especially numbing ourselves early, we kind of take away any type of motivation that's ever going to be there towards doing the things that we actually need to do.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of like a mini delayed gratification sort of thing, like in a daily approach, if you know what I mean. You kind of be like, well, I'll do the work first, and then I can maybe seek some pleasure later on or whatnot, instead of just having it front loaded from the get go. Yeah. And that, I mean, so I'll ask you. I'll run through what I would typically do with my phone anyway, and then we can go into what you do if anything. But it's typically that. So like normally I'll set my my phone to be, you can't basically access any of the apps. Like I can open it up and turn off my alarm, but I can't really access any apps without hitting the basically cancel this fucking blockage thing until at least 6. So it knocks on at 6 o'clock and then everything opens up. But typically I'll and this is the try, I will try not to open Instagram, or I'll try not to open YouTube before essentially I walk out the door. So in an ideal world, I wake up, go have the shower, come out, make coffee, journal, sit down. At the moment, I've swapped out journaling and reading just because I want to focus on the reading a bit more. But there's something there that doesn't engage the phone. Now, for me, putting the phone somewhere else, again, like all these barriers, right? Like we kind of need those barriers in place, because if I've got my phone in my hand and I'm sitting out in the lounge for an hour drinking coffee, well, then the temptation is pick up the phone and open that phantom pickup.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it's crazy, right? Like, yeah. Sorry, Karen.
And so there's the kind of barriers in place that will obviously prevent that from happening. Now, that doesn't always work. And so there are times, like I said, where I'll be sitting there and I'll be starting to meditate, or I would have finished meditating because I use my phone because it's obviously got the meditation app on my phone. And I'll finish that, and just as I'm going to close it, oh, hello, YouTube's popped up. I'm like, oh, what's been going on in the YouTube land overnight?
It's
what
funny.
New videos have come up? People released. And it's a search for like, oh, I wonder what other content's out there. Like, is there something that I'm missing? And I'm like, and so at that point, okay, the barrier hasn't necessarily worked, or it's worked up until a certain point, and that's where I think your point comes in of actually just noticing. And so the reason why I still kind of meditate daily to this day is so that it trains that noticing. And so hopefully I can notice I'm on YouTube rather than
straight after the waking up app.
Exactly. Rather than getting 5 minutes down the line or 10 or 20 minutes down the line, like, fuck, I've been on YouTube for the last 20 minutes.
I'm pretty lucky like that. I don't actually, because since our meditation episode, I've been meditating. I would say 70% of the time. Which
nice.
So like it's good. I am enjoying it, but and that's my thing as well, because I don't give myself enough time. So this is what I do when I wake up. I have a lock on my phone, so like no notifications or I already don't have any email notifications, Facebook, Instagram. I do have TikTok, not the notifications, but I do have TikTok just for when I post the clips. So, but their notifications don't come through ever either. So I have all of them off. So I have to go on and actively check it to see if there's any messages on them, on those apps. I only have messages and calls come through. And then I do check my emails regularly, but I never have them coming through as a push notification either. So they never come through. But then at 9 o'clock, I think I'd set mine for a weird time. I think mine's like 9:35 for when I 9 o'clock for my phone, and then 9 for my watch as well. It goes to night mode. So then like it's not on bright screen mode. And then my phone doesn't send any notifications to. I have Judith and Mum and Dad as important people. So if any of them drop me a text or anything like that, it'll always come through. So then that's one, I guess, way to get around for people. You can set up favorites, favorite people, so that their stuff always come through, because we have loved ones and that we wouldn't want them to get a hold of us, and you just because you had your sleep mode on, you didn't get to hear from them and they were going through something. You don't want that. You usually have some a close circle that you would put in there, so that if they definitely need to get a hold of you, they can they'll ring through straight away first time. And then it doesn't start back up until 7. But by the time like I said, in the morning, I get up at a certain time, so it's all calculated. I can get on the road at the right time, so I turn up to my spot, so I can start setting up and getting the coffee cart ready. So like I'll get up, I would have my shower, and then I'll just go and sit, and that's where sometimes I get a bit stuffed up, because some of the meditation episodes are longer. I normally buffer for around 13, 14 minutes. So that's how close I leave my waking up time. I don't want to wake up until I literally have to.
Yeah. But if you got a 12-minute meditation, you got a cold shower.
Yeah, no, so I'll still do the cold shower. I always do the cold shower, and then I go and sit down and meditate. And sometimes it's 14 minutes, and then I just turn up to my work late. Which is fine, because I get to my work and I don't serve anyone for like 30 minutes anyway. So
and you're the boss.
Yeah. And I'm the boss. Yes, true. So, but yeah, and that's pretty much it. And I don't ever have any temptations, because I know once I get to work, I'm just going to jump on my phone. So like it's never really a pull for me in the morning. I'm more just trying to wake up. I've never been a morning person, even though like people think I'm fine. I'm just capable of getting up in the morning and getting amongst it. Yeah, getting amongst it. But like when I was in real estate, a lot of them would be like, "Mate, you look like you just woke up," and I was like, "Well, we all just woke up. Like we all just got to work. It's 7:30 in the morning," and I was like, "It's different because I don't drink coffee." And it's funny that I have a coffee cart, but like all of these people have had their first or second coffee by the time I see them in the office, you know, and I'll be like, "I'm just trying to wake up, mate," you know. But
and I mean, I do the same with my notifications. So I don't really get anything except for calls and texts come through to my phone. So like I'll get the little the number notification. You know, when it sits on top of the email app or the messages app. I have 1, 2, 50,000 for some people's fucking emails. I'll get that number, but I won't get the ping notification, but only for calls and texts. I'll get obviously the push notification, so I'll get the alert or the ring. But it's funny, like as soon as we hear a notification, we're instantly fucking like shocked. We're like, pick up the phone. Like it's a reaction that we've got.
I was doing a gig yesterday with the coffee cart, and someone received the call, and this guy walking over there like reached for his phone, and then he was like, we all got the same ringtone, and like set it off to the person there. And it's quite funny, and it is. I've done that before when I've heard the thing, and then you just do the hold on onto the pocket, and you're like, oh no, that's not mine.
One. Didn't vibrate.
And
it is. It's like which you can see how easy it is to get distracted too if we're just receiving notifications all the time. So I think like a barrier for a lot of people, if they do struggle with that, is,
and we've allowed that in too. Like if you think about that, like realistically, we've allowed that in the door, that little device has the power to pull us away from anything that we're fucking doing right now.
Because it could be super important.
Yeah, because in our head we've played it up. I've done my property development, and there's never been a time where other than like 2 or 3 things that have gone really wrong that actually needed me straight away to be able to pick up that phone. So like,
and
yes, I did pick up it at that time, but every other time I had that feeling like, you know, the development's going to need me, or I'm going to have to go and drop something off, or something else is going to go wrong. And that was in my own head.
Yeah.
And that's what that device has sort of like created, or I've created in my own head for it. Yeah.
And so, again, like just limiting that where possible, whether or not that is, if you think you need those notifications throughout the day, then whatever, but it might even be setting up times where you don't get those notifications. And so that is first thing in the morning or last thing at night, when, you know, you want to be either kind of winding up into a productive day, or winding down into actually being able to go to sleep, or whatever. It is like limiting those notifications so that you don't get those alerts, and that you're kind of constantly just chopping and changing. But then I especially on Apple, and I have no idea what the hell you can do on Samsung or any other kind of non-Apple device. But
I think they're all the same.
I'm sure they'll be similar.
Much user software is all very similar, just their own
version of it.
Yeah, and like appearance is very slightly different. Yeah.
Well, and the appearance is one of it. So I typically take off all the apps from the actual home screen. So they're, in Apple, when you scroll to the right, you can just go to like all the apps are in their own little kind of like self-induced folders kind of thing. So I'll take off all the ones that I don't need, which social media I don't need. I take all of those apps off my home screen. And so that I can obviously find them. Like I can scroll to the right and go down to socials and find whatever one I need to in there. But it's not on the main screen. So whenever I open the phone up, I'm not looking blatantly at a notification of, oh, you must open this, or oh, you must open that. I take YouTube off that as well. Like, again, I know where to find them, obviously. And you get more of a barrier when you first do it. Like when you initially take off all of them, it's fucking interesting to look at because you take them all off and you're like, oh, you open the phone, you're like, fuck, it's not there. Oh, I won't do it. And you'll put it down.
Well, that's why we talked about this today, because I am getting a little bit fed up, and I'm probably going to, so I might actually give that a go and see if that helps out a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm working my ass off, and I don't like to say I'm super busy and like I've got no time for things. So I hate to say that, because I know I can pick up my phone and look at my bloody screen time. I was like, 100%. You got time, mate.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
So that's become quite apparent to me, and that's my next step, is I'm trying to claw a little bit of that time back. I'm not going to say I'm going to be superhuman. I'm going to be like, I'm going to detox and all of this sort of stuff. It's more like I need to fucking not complain about having no time. And actually just reclaim a bit more time back out of that social media.
Yeah, well, that's why I think like training the bear is a good analogy. Like it's most of the time when we are using this shit, it's basically just letting the bear into the bloody house. And so actually training it and yeah, sure, like, are we going to use it? Like, ideally we do use it for some kind of mind-numbing purpose at some point, because it's there for that. It's like fucking junk food, It's like, I hate this naturalist shit around junk food and stuff. I'm like, fuck it, it's here. Like, you may as well enjoy it, mate. You're going to end up in the fucking ground anyway at some point in your life. Like, enjoy the shit that's here, but at the point we don't want to over-enjoy it. And how can we set up the prevention of kind of like over-enjoying? Because then it's not fucking enjoying it. You're just numbing an itch or scratching an itch, and that's not really the purpose either, right? And so, with these restrictions and things that we have, it's like, yes, cool, okay, take it off. And it's interesting to see when you take it off the screen, it does act as a barrier, probably for about a week. And then
your body or your mind already knows it's
where that
what's
app
called
is.
Shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly. It's a swipe to the right, scroll down slightly, press the button, it's right there. Like, you know,
do it
exactly.
with your eyes closed.
Exactly.
After a couple of weeks.
Exactly. You know exactly where it is. And this is where both sides, I think, come into play. It's, yes, cool, that barrier is there to prevent it happening, especially in the short term. But long term, much like with your eating habits, you'll find a way around it. And so at that point, we need to train the bear, we need to train the awareness that we're actually doing the thing that we're doing. And I think at that point, it's like, it's actually just engaging with it, setting yourself a time that you want to go and engage with it. And so it's like, oh, fuck, I'm on social media. Do I want to be here? Yes. Fuck it. Cool. Okay. I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes here. I'm going to give myself 30 minutes to fucking just zone out because I've been so fucking busy and I just want some time to chill.
Yeah.
Cool. Do I want to be here? No. Fuck. Okay. Put it down. Chuck it put another barrier in place. Go put it in the kitchen. Come back. I will go on it once I finish X.
Yeah. That's literally what I do. So like, it's not that you're going and laser focusing and going and spending another 6 hours off of it. It's more like, mate, you've you know the internal conversations you're having. You've most of the time you've kind of go like, well, you need to get that done. And it's just like, well, you need to get this done, and you keep getting distracted with the phone is constantly slowing up the process, or just get it done. And these things are only like 20, 30-minute tasks for me if I don't have my phone near me. But then it's the danger of it when I have my phone with me is that it doesn't get done at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I get bits and pieces of it done, and then that phone being there, like I'll get a notification. We're looking for a house. So then they'll send me a listing. Then I'll go there, and then I'll be on the computer, and then boom, the podcast editing software is in the background now, and now the real estate site is up in front of me. So, and then it just falls into the back line, and that's why I go, oh, well, when I notice that I guess that itch, I go, okay, sweet, put that over there. Unless, like you're saying, I have a moment where like, I've been slaving away, I want to give myself that. I do give myself those moments as well where I'm like, okay, now I've actually done quite a lot here.
Yep.
You know, I guess the micro rewards or whatever.
Yeah. And that's it. And where I sometimes get caught, especially with the YouTube in the morning, is the fact that a lot of the times I'm looking for those like podcasts to review or what's actually come out so that I can create my own version of it or that I can respond to it and that kind of thing. And so like I open it up. I was like, oh, what? I might not have a topic to talk about this weekend or this week coming. And so I'm like, shit, it's now Thursday. I haven't got anything to talk about. I don't know what has been kind of going on. Like what's out there, and I'll try and find it. And I'm using it in a positive way to obviously give me something in return, but it's still scratching an itch, or I'm training the itch of just automatically opening it. Yeah,
that's what I'm doing right now. When I think we talked a couple podcasts ago about how we're mitigating what I'm consuming, and it's mainly entrepreneurial or whether I'm watching podcasts, because I know I find myself on YouTube quite a lot. So then I'm hovering over and looking at the videos to pick, and then I just go, well, what am I going to get? Like, I see the thumbnail. That's the one I definitely want to watch and catch on to, but I know it's just going to be mind-numbing, and what am I going to get out of it? And then I literally force myself to pick the one that still looks interesting, but I know it's going to have some, at least some valid facts or something that can contribute to my knowledge or something like or my drive for entrepreneurship or something like that. That small little switch, I'm still getting that little, I'm scratching that itch, but it's like slightly more filtered content and it's better for my future, I think, like those small little things. What I also noticed on Instagram is I started going and hiding things because like I'm adamant that it is just trying to push sex, drugs, and alcohol and fucking everything to me. And I tell Jade, I was like, I'm not staring at that many asses that they keep fucking like, and I'll go through in front of her, and I figured out this mode. You like hold it, and then you go hide, and then there's another little thing down the bottom, and you go hide more. And you can just go through, and you know how you select your photos? You can just go through and select all of them, and I just scroll for ages, and just anything with fucking tits and ass and anything that I'm sick of it, bro. Like,
that's actually good.
So I go through it, and then I'm just like, and then I go remove, and then he goes, do you want to remove any more? I'll go and reload that thing, and then keep going, and then I'll refresh it again, and I do it every 2 weeks because they find a way, and I do watch a bit more, like because it's not on there. If there was one there, it'll be like something of it'll be just a video, and then there'll be like some sort of chick in there, and they go, oh look, he's looking at a girl again. Let me throw him another. Like it's honestly, like but that's what it does. And then every time I notice, it started to cycle back around, and then it's also same with the conspiracy theorist stuff. So I get heaps of that. I'm sick of them. So I'll go through, and I'll just, when you start getting overflowed because they think they've found the algorithm for you, go through, remove them all, and it tidies it up, and it starts catering it to more what you want to actually see.
And even there, it's probably less powerful. So if you're thinking about squeezing that fucking lemon, like there's less powerful shit there. So I call it disenchanting and re-enchanting when I talk about it with food. Like we think like McDonald's or donuts or whatever, right? And there's an enchantment towards that food. We want to eat it. We're almost fucking possessed by it at certain times.
Yeah, it's bizarre to me how McDonald's is still so successful. I find it very mediocre. Like it's average. But then I do get it. Like it's weird when I'm hungover. I would love
that shit.
Yeah. But like some people have that every day.
Exactly.
And they loathe for it,
And that's it. We have this kind of enchantment towards it. And so the process, we actually need to disenchant from it. But the only way to do that is actually to acknowledge how shitty it actually ends up being. So when you go and you spend $50 and you get whatever from Macca's, you're like, oh my God, that cost $50. Like I literally could have gone to a decent restaurant or bought something and made it way better at home. Like
we do that all the time.
Yeah. But and that process, like it's active. We need to do that. And it's very similar with the social media in the terms of, hey, shit, like when you get rid of all that kind of hyper fixated content, you're almost disengaging from it from then and there, because you open the app, you're like, oh fuck, there's actually nothing on here, put it down. Open, oh, there's actually nothing on here, put it down. And so you're training the open up, put it down, rather than open up, scroll.
Yeah.
Open up, scroll.
Yeah.
And the only reason you open up and scroll is because there's that enchanted content on there that's like fucking makes you wide-eyed and glued to it. And it's like, we just need to probably actually do that, like make any process easier. I normally go through and just like whole heaps of like food posts.
Yeah.
Or like bonsai trees
I found that didn't do enough, because that was my first approach. And then I was like, I'm sick. Like I can even remember when it first happened, I was just sitting at the gym and I just found myself like, you got to wait in between sets. Like just, you're supposed to.
Yeah.
But then I just found myself, I was just like, man, this shit that's on here, it's pissing me off.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not actually looking at tits and ass and and even just like heaps of bodybuilders dudes, and then it would be like it's just anything they're trying to just push, and then it would be like drugs.
Yep.
And then it would be, what else would be, like cars, and like they're just pushing stuff that I don't ever even look at, but it's just all over it. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to hide that.
Yep.
And then that's what I did for a while, and then it helped. And then I sort of saw at the bottom, but everyone's probably like, mate, we've known about this for ages.
Fuck, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I know, but like it's sort of because it was just in little writing. I was like, oh, add more. I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, clicked on it. I was like, oh shit, it's just exactly like when you're selecting photos. Easy, and how easy is that to do? You know, when you're going to clean, like do a dump on your photos,
Feed,
and you're like, oh yeah, so get rid of those photos.
And you pick 100 at a time.
Yep, and that's exactly what I did.
So good. And I mean, that's the thing, like the technologies and the apps and things, they've actually got that stuff built into them, like iPhones and like I think Apple's actually pretty decent in that, and that they at least put it there. Like they're pretty bad in terms of it is enticing to use the damn product in the first place, but
and it's already automatically like toggled on, like certain modes are toggled on, and you have to go and turn that mode off.
But at least you can,
and
it's like at least the power is there to still go and do it. And I think like that's probably part of the responsibility of using the devices now, like whether or not that's actually teaching that to younger kids that are also using it, or just even adopting that for fucking ourselves, is that, hey, like now we actually need to kind of use this responsibly, and go through and disengage with certain things that we don't want to look at, or hide apps from certain areas of the phones. And it's just like by doing that, at least we're able to then, again, hopefully use it somewhat more healthfully.
And there's another one as well. I don't know, the suggested posts? You can turn those off as well.
Huh.
But here's the kicker. You can only turn it off for 30 days. So I turn it off, and when I start seeing suggested posts again, I go into my settings, turn off suggested posts. Because when you're on your own feed, you don't see. So I did a count. Out of 10 posts, only 2 of them from people I followed.
Buzzy.
Everything else was suggested posts. And I was like, why am I seeing everyone else's shit? And everyone else has always got some sort of product to fucking push or something. That might not be their product video, but that's their video that pulls me to their page, and then they're pushing their product.
Correct. And that's what I mean. Like that's what they're selling. That's how they're selling it. And it's, we need to be at least aware of that. And that's not to fucking, they're after our attention or whatever. It's like, it's a business. Like, okay, that's how they make their profit. Because that's how people want to spend money. I want to spend money on Instagram to get my sponsored posts to people, because I know people spend their time on it. And they need to play the game too. Right? And so, but in doing that, we need to be aware that, okay, that's the game that we're playing while we're using this. It's like going onto a free game. Like when you get the free game, you're going to get pop-ups of some random ad of some other game.
Buy some tokens. Buy the tokens so that you can go to the next level quicker.
Yeah, exactly. There's buy this cosmetic. Like it's all a part of it. Like, and we know we're playing the game. And so, okay, well, we just need to know that we're playing the game on social media, and what are the rules, and how can we actually adapt those rules? Like even with those, turning off the suggestion, making sure that you kind of remove the hyper-inflammatory shit that you don't really need to be seeing. Doing that puts that barrier in place, and it's just it's checking in so that you can at least play the game properly. Like
it's not like it's going to be an overnight fix. I don't think. Where a lot of these habits are very habitual, right? Like we are embedded in them, right? So it's just slowly pulling away cutting every little string you know, you've got thousands of strings attached to you. Maybe you're just chipping off one at a time, you know, all of these little connections, just so you can slowly detach yourself from it.
Yes.
And you don't need to be completely, because I think a lot of people run their businesses through it, and a lot of people's lives run through it. So we can't go walking around and be like, oh, well, go back to the flip top. We're never going to go there again, nor do I think we should.
Yes.
You say it perfect. Train that bear. Yeah. You know, and then that way you can reclaim a little bit of, I guess, control over your life once again, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Should we leave it there?
I think so.
Awesome.
Cheers,
Thanks for listening, guys.
Oh, please like, share, and subscribe.